the Indian. You let it go, the skin turns white.
Oh my god.
Doesn't it?
And who taught you that?
Huh?
Who taught you that?
Some Indian who turned white.
My take on the Asian experience or the South Asian experience or whatever, South Asian American experience is sort of not, it's just sort of feeling invisible.
Is I grew up with only whites. In many ways, I was believe that I was white, but in reality, I wasn't. It took a long time for me to distinguish that. All my friends are still all white. Where I come from, Milwaukee, 100%, I don't have any Indian friends at all.
I completely blended in before I became conscious of being Indian.
That was not until 1990 where a girl introduced me to Bhangra music. And that's where everything started.
I went to Toronto and what they were doing is they had a huge Bhangra bash going on down there. It was like, I think, 88 or 89. There was a reception party. Thousands of people get into it, and I was like, wow, it's crazy, you know. And I said, well, let's do it in Chicago too. So I started DJing for Punjabi parties and Bhangra music, putting on all the parties. Start buying Punjabi tapes. So I started collecting since then.
I think it was like halfway through being in college, I had some cousins that would take me to some classical Indian concerts, and I was thoroughly blown away by the sitar and the tablas. You know, just my mouth was open the whole time. Like, how can these people do that with like two hands?
I've always had a radio in my hand, you know, like you see pictures of when I was younger, and I've always had a radio in my hand. I'm always like kind of singing along, whatever. But my first performance was when I was 7 years old, I think. Yeah, me and my sister were both, yeah, she was 4. It was the first performance was we danced with our father, you know, like on stage.
Sunny, I met him in the party. I was doing Sikh potluck. I was like, I don't know, I think it was 89, I think. Saw him in temple too, in Gurdwara, and so we should make a music. He said you have some kind of 4-track or something back then. Then our DJ said, let's combine it, all right? And we came up with some stuff. I went to his home. We started working on some tracks. So we came up with the tape. We just did it for fun. We put it in the market. Only 20 tapes we released. And went in one day.
Even if I was born here, if I'm a 3rd or 4th generation, I'll never be an American. Because I would never be treated as an American. I'll be always treated as a foreigner. So rather than trying to police them and trying to be with them, I'd rather be what I am. And I'm trying to please anyone. So when I realized that, so I found out my music, my culture. I use the music as a tool to express myself.
You face a lot of racism. I mean, especially people with like turbans. They face a lot of racism in America.
As my real good friends, they don't see my turban, they don't see my beard. I mean, they treat me very well.
We can't say that.
I mean, I don't know what they're saying in the back.
I see it.
You know,
I can see it on you. So to say that they don't see it, I'm sure when you're not around, they're like, that damn Arabian goddamn camel jockey.
They do say that. one thing I learned when I came here is you got to be strong. And I have 2 black belts. First day of high school, some guy grabbed my turban, and he was a senior football player. I knocked him down. And I got a reputation that don't mess with this guy.
With my experiences, I've never seen color lines or whatever, you know, things like that.
So you've never felt racism?
Nope.
A lot of Sikh youth nowadays, they're teased in school. The bottom line is, even if you're Indian, you get teased, they accuse you of being Arabian, accuse you of whatever. I'm not going to run from nothing. I don't like white people. I'll say, you know, I say it to white people all the time. I don't like them.
As soon as I open my mouth and start talking about racial stuff, suddenly people don't like me, you know, and it's still hard because I still sometimes might blame myself, say, oh, I'm so immersed in this conflict and I'm looking at it too intensely, and that's why, you know, this and that and the other thing happened. Then other times I think, no, you know, that stuff really did happen. So
when we moved here, you know, my dad, he did a lot better, and we got a nice house. We're the first non-white family to move into this neighborhood. A week after we moved, I was 10 years old. They burned a huge swastika on our yard. So I mean, I constantly, you know, I'm thinking, you know, I'm looking out the window. My parents are like going hysterical, and there's a huge swastika burning in our yard.
It's pretty ironic that's the Indian symbol to begin with.
Yeah.
Your mother's putting flowers on it.
And when I went to school, I'd get my ass kicked every day because that was the time when they had hot problems with Iran. And I'd get my ass kicked, calling me camel jacker and all this, whatever. I never got that from a lot of, you know, the blacks. There was like 2 black kids in there, but I never got any slack, you know, anything from them. And a lot of the Mexican guys that used to get
Help you out.
a lot of, you know, the blacks. I mean, if you got like 4 black dudes and like 5 Mexicans and 1 Indian, well now you got 10 guys, you know, before they're like individual small, well now you got 10 of them.
They're surprised that I can even speak English. That's the one thing. Another thing is I don't have an accent. They ask me, where are you from? I always tell them Canada. There are people like you in Canada? Yeah.
Dawhead, then they call you fly trap. You know, like on TV
What does that mean, fly trap?
when they show poor people in like Africa or in India.
Do not watch Channel 11.
They have a lot of flies flying around their head.
That's Channel 11.
Fly trap.
Stay away from Channel 11. It's all bullshit.
Channel 11, that's not education.
Sonny,
No, go ahead.
the origins of Bhangra.
Oh, man.
It started like this.
In the mountains.
In the mountains. When soldiers didn't have anything else to do, they took out the light, they drank, and they took a dole and beat on it.
And they were dun 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 dun.
As early as I can remember, I've been exposed to music first in Gurdwara. Gurdwara is a center point where all that kirtan is, everything is done in music. Music is a form of expression for us. Music is a tool we use to express and reach God. Music can be expressed in many different ways. For us to be expressing music in this way is an extension of what we learned as kids and what we have seen when we're young. We got the strictly Bhangra rhythm in the beginning. Strictly Bhangra, Tumbi, Baja, and those Shanai horns. And we come here, we're influenced with all these house music. You got metal, you got rock and all that. And we've been influenced much more with the dance music. Dance music is usually related to hip house. And we exposed so much in radio that we started using it. But we're using it, but we're blending with Indian music, Indian Bhangra beats and all that. Eventually, when we find the right sound, it's going to be so unique and so different that it won't belong to the black people anymore. It won't belong to the Bhangra. It will belong to our subculture.
Yeah, you listen to Bang 103, the nation, no hesitation with frustration, the nation that you listen to, Bang 103, the nation. And we got Tony T.O. Tony, man, drop the next track for this nation, for the Bhangra nation, for that nation, that hesitation with no frustration.
might say we're ripping too much from the black culture. That's a flavor we want. We like that flavor. We like the dhol flavor. We like the tumbi flavor.
What would happen was I would get together with Matt and Michael, and we'd sort of like funk out, and that would be fine. Then I get together with Mehul and Madhu, and we could, I could relate more on the Indian level. But then I tried to get everybody together, and at first it seemed like it, I was like, I don't know if it's gonna work or whatever. But that was incredible because we had a few rehearsals before the Diwali show, and we just played one piece, which is like we mixed a little bit of everything in that piece, and that was phenomenal. It ended up being great because we started out mimicking like an alap of an Indian classical piece where you introduce this rag, and then Mehul would sing this sargam, and I'd return by playing the blues scale. I think the thing I liked about it the most was that everybody came up to me afterwards, because you had like the parents, the Indian parents coming up, that rag was so good, and then you'd have these freshmen, with these like baseball caps on come up to me, dude, that rocked out, man. I guess in terms of mixing Indian and funk music, I imagine having somehow, I still don't have it like completely, the sound I'm looking for, I'm still working on it, but having the bass player and drummer somehow lock into, as they call in funk, having something be in the pocket, something completely in the groove, and somehow that structure, that solidified structure, almost serving like the drone in Indian music, where so you could have an in the pocket kind of funk groove, and on top of it, the flute or saxophone player or singer are just improvising these Indian or Arabic or whatever other kind of melodies on top of it.
Come up on stage with something old. We're always trying to bring something new. Like nobody had in the Punjabi community, nobody had ever done a qawwali, and so A couple years back, I think, Vasaki, you know, we came out with a Qawwali, you know, so things like that. We'll come out with songs with a little bit of Pakistani touch, you know, things like that.
And are there any other DJs like you, Indian DJs around?
They are, but they are not into their own music. They'll play mostly American music. And there's some they're Bhangra DJs, but they'll be playing only Bhangra, not American music. They're like about 40, 50 years old.
This sample will go from that movie, and you take that Gandhi march from that Gandhi movie, that background vocal, and you mix it with that, and you bring in an 808 boom on that, and a little soft tabla, and to put a little sitar and gunshots going at the same time. It would be perfect. and trying to visualize that is, you know,
that is the hard part. I mean, it's like,
you know, that's
technically I really don't know what I'm doing. It's just that I don't, you know, I got to go to somebody else to get my shit done. I don't have the patience to sit there. I want it done now. I want to think. I tell you about that. Remember, I always tell.
You want fast food music?
Yeah, you know, it's like I always say
drive through, give me a track.
I want like these like sensors set to my head and a plug that goes into a sampler. I want to sample what I'm thinking. It'd be a hell of a lot easier, you know. So I'm not gonna swear in it.
Okay.
You cannot do that.
I know.
You could suggest not to put in.
I suggest you do not use the foul language.
No, we can put any swearing.
You can't swear anymore?
No, not on this track.
Okay. How would you do it? What do you think?
Made for walking. Somebody's been doing a lot of talking. So now these boots are gonna start some kicking.
That's what they're gonna do?
That's just what these boots are gonna do.
How you gonna rhyme it?
That'll be easy to rhyme. I'll be like, start anyone and okay.
One lyrics we're working on right now is about an Indian girl. She would not give an Indian guy a chance, but she would give a white guy a chance any day out of the day. Because of the image and how, you know, she feels she would be much fitting in the society and all that.
Even in the Indian society?
In Indian society, you see sometimes, you see her, like today, there are a couple of Indian girls coming with white guys. Yeah, well, what's the message they're trying to send, you know?
I think it's circumstantial, you know, maybe they meet someone that they really like. I don't think they're out there looking, you know, for, oh, I'm gonna date and marry, you know, a white man. I think it's more just, it's circumstantial. Maybe that guy was someone they worked with, and maybe they just got along, you know. Like one of my friends, you know, one of my closest friends here, he said, man, you know, if you were willing to let our kids be Catholic, I'd marry you in 2 seconds, you know.
I was in a relationship with a white person, as far as that could go for me.
I think I would do it more from a standpoint that I would put Indian girls above any other girl, you know. That would probably be it.
Definitely, these parties will cause many Indians to get together, and as there are going to be a lot of marriages probably happening from them, because they might start dating, they might like each other, or they might discover Indians to be total Slavs. And some situation like that, a couple of parties back, where Indian guys are grabbing all these Indian girls, and a lot of the Indian girls were turned off by that, because these guys have no common sense, they were not mature, and I mean, that's a big turn off for Indian girls to be seeing all these Indian guys doing that bullshit thing. And some Indian girls, it's the first time they're going out, you know, a little bit open, they find somebody who knows about them, their subculture.
What are we doing here? Looking for females.
What's that?
Looking for girls.
Looking for girls? Why?
Looking for pretty Punjabi girls.
Do you want to marry these girls then?
I want to marry a Punjabi girl.
Okay. So you come to these dudes to,
maybe find one, you never know.
Okay.
You never know.
I think my older sister broke some ground by she married a white American person, and at first, I think there's these strong expectations. My parents wanted us to marry, somebody Indian. We'd always used to shrug it off and say, it's so unrealistic or whatever. And my parents have really come a long way, just, realizing that, my sister's very happily married with a kid. My parents now say they're the best match for each other,
Hey Mix, no ki ho gaya? Live, Chacha Ji, please bring that funky beat back.
The content is more just according to whatever's called for. So like if you're at a marriage, you're gonna sing, of course, like if you're at if you're from the guy's side and you're at the marriage, you're gonna sing songs about the guy's family. And if you're from the girl's side, you do the same. And then if we're at a party, we pick an appropriate song.
I don't think I'm like one of those people that like, these artists that like something like a novel serves as an inspiration. I just like to jam, I just love just to get right into it. And, I think what inspires me is just playing with other people. Like I can really get in my own world, enjoy playing my bass or sitar or something like that on my own, especially sitar. But I really enjoy the most playing off other musicians and trying to listen to what the other person is playing. And I think I've always thought that there was, I've always felt this somewhat of an emotional connection to the blues, but there was one time in particular, this was just something personal had gone. I was like thinking about my ex-girlfriend or something like that, and I came downstairs and I played. After talking to her on the phone, I played. And that was the first time, every single note I played, I was like crying. I was like really emoting, and ended up sort of singing, of course no one else was here, so I was singing. And it was the first time in my life I really felt, this is why I miss the blues.
He has tons of pages with very militant, and we have not gone in process of actually making them. Because we got to put a lid on something.
Public Enemy's militant.
Yeah, Public Enemy.
And you look at Public Enemy, but you got to see like how many white people accepted Public Enemy, and how many white people listened to Ice Cube.
When Ice Cube first came out, he sold 1 million copies.
His lyrics are right there. His lyrics are right there in front of you. But if you can be accepted for that,
Like this year, all right, we had for 1984, we said let's experiment with this. We went totally hardcore over track, which describes what happened to Amritsar. He did it. And we approached some of the distributors in Toronto. They backed down. They said we would never take this. We have created it. It is very militant in a way. Say this is what happened 10 years after what happened in Amritsar. He made this. Pure lyrical. And nobody wants to touch it.
You could tell that they were like motivated. They were listening with an earful to everything, and there was nothing in there that they could have denied. And then when they did want to, they were on the verge of putting it out.
They backed out.
But they said that they don't want to have nothing to do with this distribution. They don't want their name to do anything with
what this stands for.
You can't do anything different or courageous. So that's where the underground stuff comes in, because basically people just don't give a fuck, and they're crazy, and they'll make sure that their music is heard.
As I trip back into reality, a brother once said to me, it's land of Gandhi, the great Mahatma. It's also the land where Rajiv got his motherfucking head blown off. So you say to me, AK, why don't you kick some unity? How the fuck you tell me about unity when you don't even know me? You call my people terrorists. I think to put a motherfucking bullet in your chest when you ain't nothing but a rapist. Don't even think AK is prejudiced, cause I'm just talking about justice. Don't give a fuck if you black, white, or Indian. Education or situation you seem to be missing. Yeah, throw that dead ass in a hearse and listen up. Listen up, motherfucker, hear me curse. As I take this rhyme to another verse, to another platform as I take it higher. A brother tried to step to me and call me a liar. So I pulled out my Glock and I let it rock. Put a bullet right in his motherfucking head. Left that coolie ass punk and I gotta left him for dead. Cause I'm about to step off, I'm about to move on. Tell brothers, yeah, you can't label me for being wrong.
Very powerful. It's like going to Gurdwara.
For our tape, we were more worried about whether people could pop this tape in, you know, if they were sitting in a car and if family members were sitting around. You know, we wanted it to be a family-oriented thing and not something just younger kids would listen to, but everyone. And we understand that a lot of younger kids don't really care, you know, for the classical, but when we're younger, we're changing constantly, so you can't really depend on producing a tape. What we wanted to do is make something lasting, and you can't do that when your aim would be the younger generation. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
But we can take that tape and maybe get it mixed, you know, so that we have something for the younger generation. That's what actually I'm interested in doing. So
That's if you look at it, that's what makes us so unique, because we express our opinions in so different ways. That's how we come up with unique ideas, because we have such a different viewpoints on everything. That's why we come with sound and techniques and lyrics that are so different, because we have such different flavor.
I know my culture to the maximum, because culture comes first. A man without his culture is nobody, you know?
Yeah, you heard it, man without his culture is nobody. We're gonna kick it with another track, the same track, the Bhangra version of Wicked for Me, Wicked?
Yes, rude boy.
Yes,
lick it for me now.
Lick it for him now. Here we go, Bang 103.1, kicking with Vicious.
This is how I was conceiving of, you know, this rich culture, thousands of years old. I really was scared that it could go down the drain in one generation.
What do you think is wrong with today's culture?
Morally, it is deteriorating.
In what way?
In this way?
My parents didn't push the issue at all. I think the blame is on them, because a lot of this stuff, as musically goes, culturally goes, I had to learn by myself. And I blame a lot of the parents because they don't push the Indian cultures on their kids at all. They think American culture is fine. Kids are really, really messed up. And majority of the kids that do discover culture and Indian music is by other kids.
They want to know how Gurdwara should be run, so we went there. And it's all controlled by adults. When I express my opinion, it goes, why are you expressing it that way? They don't realize that in 15 to 20 years, if they don't hold on to us, we're gone. It's still, they're running politics, they're not doing it for the actual cause.
Well, I learned about being a Sikh through my own. I mean, I seen pictures in Gurdwaras and everything like that of, you know, holding the swords and everything and fighting, but they never talk about it. And they don't teach that. And when you go to the little classes they have, they say, oh, well, let's do, you know, we're going to do a Shabd today and then this, learn the Punjabi alphabet. Screw that. I don't want to know that. I want to know history. I want to know where it began, what happened. So basically all that I had to learn on my own. What is this, you know? And then it's like two swords, right? And you got the sword in the middle, and then you got the ring which they put in the pagri. So I'm curious, you know, when you do matatik, you bow down. There's swords over there. I'm like, why? Why are they there? I mean, they look cool, you know. But I want to know why. There's a purpose behind everything, and I need to know the facts. I always had gata, always. I never knew what it was for, you know. Sometimes I even felt like a girl because I had it on. I want to take it off, but you know, I did some research and I realized that, well, this is a weapon. When you go like this and you're coming down to hit somebody, their ear can get caught behind this and you pull down. If you look at it, I mean, these gatas are both made probably in totally different places, mine and yours, but they got the same design. Why is one side extremely sharp, but you can never hurt yourself with it? Then this one, this is it. This is it. This is like
This is the killer one.
This is it. If somebody screws me, this is a skull cracker right here, and it works. Believe me, you've seen it.
I've seen it.
I mean, this sucker can just. I mean, this is just by looking at it.
Weapons are part of our culture. If you're a true Sikh, you should carry your weapon because you never know when you're going to use it.
The guy was going to put prasad right in my hand. Well, he had it in front of him, so I took the knife and I cut it. And I said, "Why Guru?" I wiped it on my hand, and then I put the prasad. The guy's look on his face.
They let you into the Gurdwara?
There's nothing they can do. You should seen how many they had laying over there. This was nothing. They were bigger than this. They had one this long, like this.
I remember just being terrified. I must have been how old? Maybe 10, 12 years old. Talking with my friends who were, very pleasant folks, but we're talking about, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you're going to go to hell. And I remember being terrified and going, to my mom and dad and saying, how did, is there a God? Is there, blah, 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 just being terrified. My parents not really being able to answer. And, the Hindu thing was totally downplayed, it was more, the rituals were more associated as cultural things, not religious things, I've studied some Vedanta philosophy, and I really like a lot of what I have read and what I've went to this Gurukul out in Pennsylvania actually for a month, and on my own, in which my father particularly was flabbergasted and was, as the family calls it, I went to Swami camp for a month.
True that I went to a lot of clubs with my hair down, but I kept my hair. I didn't cut it. I kept my beard. I never shaved it. Because I was confident.
This is just my belief that back in that time there was a reason they kept their hair. The reason was they don't want to be running away from. I'll say it. When Muslims were attacking, right? When people are running from Muslims, or they're converting into Muslims, or they're being killed by Muslims, you will know who a Sikh is because he has long hair. But you see, I'm not there anymore. I'm over here now. Back then, even now in India, you get a lot of respect if you're a Sikh because the culture accepts it. That's part of that culture. But over here, that's not going to be accepted. I'd rather look like I am and walk into a club and, look more threatening this way than I would if I, like that. I want to be threatening, regardless. Even back then, 500 years ago, Sikhs, when they walked into a place, you would know, well, this guy, he's got a karpan on his side. It's a threatening image.
A lot of people in Chicago are much more cultural, much more literate, much more educated, and much more whitewashed than people in Toronto. This one last party I went to, this girl came up to me. Can you play that song that goes ole ole ole? I go, do you know the lyrics? No. Do you speak Hindi? No. Do you speak Punjabi? No. Do you speak Gujarati? No. So why do you even want to hear it? So I like the beat. I like the Indian beat on it. So it is interesting. A lot of these whitewashed people, they think it's cool now to go back to Indian music, listen to Bhangra music.
I'm trying to get the ones that are moving away, the ones that have been pushed around in school because they have long hair, to stand up. And when I did that show, and just all hell broke loose. It's like I could see in these kids' eyes that everything I was saying was true. There's not a flaw in my lyric.
When I was on one point where you just want to spread knowledge and teach people and make them hear things they don't want to hear. So now it's like I even got sick of that bullshit. It's like how can I talk to someone who's not going to listen? I'd rather just jack them, Today.
Why is your viewpoint so strong?
Well, it's the same thing. Why don't Jews like Nazis? You can take it. I'm using that as an example. It's the same thing. At one point, there was only 500 Sikhs left in the whole world because they were slaughtered by Muslims. Because Muslims knew them as a threat. And out of 500, that basically says that there was 500 people between who I am today, opposed to me being a Hindu or a Muslim. Okay, there was 500 people. That's it. That's not that many people. And you can say, well, that shit was done in the past, right? Well, yeah. Well, slavery was in the past too. This is 1995. And I've never said being a Muslim is bad, right? But
don't drag it.
If you got a flaw or something like that, or you're gonna backstab or something like that, or you've done something in your past, and you don't want to accept it, well, I'm going to let you know, you know, you've done this. This was done in your past. Maybe you didn't do it. I think you ought to know your grandparents or somebody that might have done it.
Like, oh, Gujaratis are like this and Pakistanis are like this, you know, and that bothers me a lot too, because you're trying to prevent racism or stereotype, you know, and then you're doing it yourself, you know, because you're saying it.
We get phone calls from Toronto, we get phone calls from New York, these Sikh guys that want to be DJs because they see our picture on it. I mean, that's some kind of influence we could create on it.
Right.
And we feel good. You know, not all the money we spend could buy that kind of thing.
I think it's incredible because they see it, you know, an Indian, and especially being an Indian woman. I guess I've never thought about that before, but you know, that an Indian woman is singing and she, like me and my sister, that we're recognized, you know, and that I think definitely that's an influence on other people, you know, especially on I see it mostly in the generation after me.
Like, for me to do what my brother's doing in the Bhangra scene, my mother would freak because she'd be like, young girl in this society, you know, going out, take me like that, you know, avara girl, blah, blah, blah. She would say that.
It's incredible to see now, like you go to our Vaisakhi shows. I remember as I was growing up, there weren't very many girls involved at all. Parents were very afraid to let their girls get involved with the Bhangras or the songs or whatever. Now, you know, there's still not any other girls singing in our Chicago community, but you know, girls are getting up there and they're dancing, and you know, they're making speeches on stages, which is incredible because that's something I never grew up with, you know.
It's supposed to be equality in our culture, and especially in Sikhism where Bhangra stems from. And the thing is that there's not equality at all. You're not putting. There's a point where you can put men and women in, you know, an equal relationship, but you don't see it in many relations. You don't see it in films, and you don't see it in dances. And you see, you know, if there's like Bhangra, like I was saying, it's mostly male-dominated where it's happening, and women don't have as much of an equal say, I think. This like popularity, you know. No, I think it's really great. I think that they're making a great breakthrough that a lot of people weren't doing, and that some people don't realize that, and they're giving them a hard time for it. But it's because of them that you have parties like this. The main thing about it is unity, and I think that's really important right now. And that's what they're trying to do is unity. Bhangra, you know, you see this big craze. Everybody's getting into Bhangra. It's not everybody's getting into Hindi music, Gujarati music, Punjabi music. Everybody's getting into Bhangra, which is, you know, notable for everybody. It's not just for one specific group of people. Anybody can dance to it because it's so easy. You know, you just kind of let loose.
Well, we know he's a great rapper.
Yeah, definitely.
But I guess he's more like the person that starts the image of like a really tough guy, you know, tough guy image, and that's great. I mean, you need someone like that, and his lyrics are different. So that's a kind of like a door opener.
Extreme,
you know?
definitely.
He's more towards the extreme as compared to the other people. So,
which is really good when you're trying to get this bandwagon effect happening, and it is happening because people are looking up to him and saying, "Wow, this really tough guy, who's this tough Sikh guy, Punjabi guy, who likes Bhangra and who raps and who's, you know, and who's for peace." And they respect that in a person, and they're gonna go for that, and they're gonna want to be like him or hang around with him.
What do you think of the scene here?
It's alright. It's thumping. I've never been to one of these before. It's alright.
What do you think?
I think it's pretty straight.
He says he's never experienced something this explosive in his life.
there's nobody to look up to, actually, in my culture, musically or anything wise. You know, Apache and all of that, but they're not what I am. All right, he's a Punjabi, but he's not a Sikh. That's the type of person I am. He's not representing me.
Apache in my eyes, I mean, he's tops. He's tops. I mean, because all Indians, they know who Apache Indian is. No matter if they're Punjabi, Gujarati, Malayali, they all know who Apache Indian is. They all know he's Punjabi. So, I mean, he gives a good, background of who we are as Punjabi people.
Majority of our exposure for reggae Indian style music is Apache Indian. He's like the biggest influence. He is like the only one we know that has crossed over into mainstream market. Tell me what you feel about the Apache Indian. Tell me what you feel about your music.
Well, you know, I send big respect to Apache Indian because he's my originator. You know, it's very hard for my youth to come from India and, you know, push reggae music. It's really difficult for a youth man to do things like that.
My name on invitation. Pandy cake go raise a million. I bring a brand new style now on the island. I be the white, I be the black, and now I be the Indian. So each and everyone come follow fashion. Live unique, can't go to bottom. Everyone in the Bhangra fashion of DJ them a come with them own style. Me say some are what then some are coming to follow me. And some of them a say, oh Lord have mercy. The man in the east of the two and also in a tree. Them a ball for the wild Apache. Cause you know say you really love me. Jump around for the wild Apache. Cause you know say they really love me.
Funniest thing was when we went to Toronto, we didn't approach the TV station or the radio station, they approached us. They approached us because they thought it was unique to see that in America they were expecting New York or Los Angeles to be the scene, and not expecting Chicago at all. Biggest dream to see if we could pull off something where we could reach MTV, the masses, the actual global community when it comes down to music. We want to make some noise. And right now we're doing with Indian community so far. Now we want to see if we could actually cross over and touch other cultures and other subcultures in America, and hopefully go back to India where all the music came from, but with the flavor of America mixed into it, going back to India.
I want to do more vocals. I would like to do like some Punjabi lyrics maybe, but I feel mixed because I would really like ideally to have sort of a progressive edge or message to the song. I think I'm at the point where still I'm making sounds sensational. I want them to be more than just sensational. I want them to be really heartfelt, you know, where we're fluidly going back and forth between different musical forms, because that's how we're expressing ourselves, not because, oh, this will sound exotic, or this, you know, oh, this will be a novel kind of sound.
I see myself as doing something for the people, and not in terms of singing, but in terms of, you know, like I would love to, I don't know, if I become an optometrist, like go to a country where they need, you know, eye care or whatever, and I see myself doing something more along that line, or something in the field of psychology. I mean, that I definitely, I think, have separated what I want to do with my life from my music. You know, my music is always going to be my passion.
What do you think that the next generation of kids, Indian kids, is going to be like in this country?
Well, you know, they're going to be very integrated into Western culture. I hope and I pray that they don't forget their culture, they don't forget their history, you know, and their roots. But again, that depends on us. You know, that depends on how much we do for the next generation to help them along and to show them that our culture is interesting, and in the same way our parents showed us, you know.